day.
World Card Game Federation here. Going to show off a gift from Joey DiCarlo and the development team. We're going to be talking a little bit about some memories I have of playing the game early on and having sort of a toolbox of items to work with, but having some limitations in ye old toolbox. So if anybody used to play Namekian, say circa sets 1 through 4, you guys remember our strategies were relatively simple. We had mild beatdown capability, better than average DB victory, but most of the time we just NPBV, right? You know, try to milk Namekian knowledge mastery to the utmost, get the shuffles, the rejuves, and all that stuff, and we keep raising our anger and crank that up. So, life was pretty simple back then. Those were our goals, you know, we like I said, mild beatdown, DB victory more so. But here's the thing, guys. You guys remember two very important cards that we would basically to recycle Dragon Balls, get them out of harm's way, get the use out of them, and then just, you know, get them out of there. You guys remember Namekian Zone Pressure? Now, the neat thing about Namekian Zone Pressure is you could always throw it. Being a physical attack, there's nothing that could really impede you from throwing it, getting a Dragon Ball out of play, and then targeting a card. Here's a kicker. Anybody who's done this, or played Namekian style long enough, and used Zone Pressure long enough, remembered banishing your own setup or drill because it doesn't specify it has to be your opponent's. It just must be one in play. If you're the only one carrying one, you just lost it. I've lost Namekian growth in that manner, and it was a pretty humbling experience. Basically, they were going to crit the ball in the next action, so, you know, I was stuck. So my memory of Zone Pressure is, it's the 1 in 100 backfire, but boy, when it backfires, life is tough. So, that one, like we said, always able to throw it, always able to get a Dragon Ball out of there, but always that little possibility horrible backfire on you. So, you know, neat. It had a strong purpose. I enjoyed using it. Most of my 1 through 4 set Piccolo Namekian Knowledge decks had that as a go-to. So here's the thing, though. If your opponent didn't have, you know, a setup or drill, you didn't have a setup or drill, no targets. What if you didn't have any Dragon Balls out? Really average card. AT plus 3 stages, if I recall. That's just not a lot given certain scenarios, especially in those early sets. So limitations abounded, a couple great advantages. Now another one that comes to mind of a very similar idea was Namekian Double Palm Blast, if I've got the name right. So you guys know what I'm talking about, the energy, got a little bit of endurance. You can shuffle a Dragon Ball you control and play back in your life deck if you do use a critical damage effect. You guys know what I'm talking about? So here's the thing about that one. 1, you need the power stages to shoot it. 2, you need a DB to get at the critical damage effect. The life card damage was fine, a potential crit to be had in of itself, but I would say that this card, under most circumstances, could easily not have a legitimate target. So the limitation of that one was you couldn't always throw it. It can't always crit, even with 5 life card damage, because you know how that goes. What are you going to do, crit Saiyan? How? Why? So that was my beef on that one, is that just basically become a dead card in my hand if I was facing a severe physical beatdown. So like we said, slightly better effect than Zone Pressure. Everything's balanced. You know, Zone Pressure, you can always get its effect, you know, provided you got Dragon Ball out. And Palm Blast, you know, it's super awesome. You just got to have the Dragon Ball ammunition to push back in your own deck, and then to get at the crit. So all the stuff was neat, but you guys probably noticed something in my little description. I described 2 different cards, which could, depending on your build, be 6 slots. Seems like a lot. Seems like an awful lot to me. So devoting it sets 1 through 4 was relatively simple because there really wasn't an alternative at the time. Sets, you know, thereafter, yeah, things started to get more and more crowded for Namekian. We had different ways to get at things, but their unique effects to push the Dragon Ball in to get at something, you know, one of those 2 effects, we still needed it, but there was just so many more options and things we had to do. We had to do a wall breaker, we had to do all kinds of things. So, Joey knows this as well as anyone else because he's been there playing all the styles, all the characters for all this whole time, and noticed a little bit of a gap. I'm sorry, the developers, I don't know if Joey did this himself. So we are going to unveil the card.
Namekian Powerball.
Energy attack, costing 3 stages. I'm going to explain in a minute why I don't have a problem with that. So, dig this. Everybody who remembers Crushing Beam. Remember Crushing Beam used to shuffle itself back in the day, so you'd have it in your Namekian deck just to 1, get a shuffle, 2, push some endurance back in. You know, awesome. So 3 power stages and damage being banished is not unheard of, but remember, it wasn't styled before, so that is like 2 birds with 1 stone. You get a styled card, because you interact a lot more often, more consistently with styled cards than non-styled. So, dig this. So, damage is 5 life cards. Again, potential crit up there with the double palm blast. But here's where the magic is, ladies and gentlemen. This is where you guys are going to say, oh, that's it, that's all it does. I'm about to tell you why you're wrong. Hit. Shuffle a Dragon Ball or ally you control into its owner's life deck to destroy a setup or drill. You guys feeling that? You guys feeling the versatility? So I was never a future Gohan I guess Teenage Gohan, I don't know what to call it. But I was never a fan of that one, the Ally Gohan decks. I never played any of them myself. I played against them very often. I will flat out tell you, they are brutal, they are effective, and they're consistent. So how would you like to have one incredible buff to everything we just talked about? All the shtick that the Gohan and Friends deck does, using your power stages up for your allies, using them on your main personality to get down to 0 to start bringing them into play, damage from this attack is banished. I remember getting blasted to garbage, just a steaming, smoking crater afterwards from those Gohan and Friends decks, with even ordinary cards with all kinds of buffs and things in play just annihilating me. Having 5 already life cards on it and having the damage banished, yeah, get ready to get shot in half. You can imagine with a couple of necessary buffs out there, to buff up this damage, you could take legitimately a 7 or 8 life card damage, all banished energy attack, and there's nothing fancy about it. But that's not what's important. Here's what's important. It's the hit and the shuffle. Now, Namekian knowledge is sticking around, at least for the time being, and the shtick for knowledge has never changed. You're always looking to rejuvenate yourself, last longer in terms of potentially getting a survival victory from sheer just outliving them. And then the other one, of course, is shuffling and raising your anger, which gives you double targets. Shuffle a Dragon Ball or ally. So I, in my Piccolo build, can totally use this. Pop it right in. If I was using the Gohan and Friends deck, totally can do it too, because I can push my allies in using them as ammunition, which generally Namekian has never done. And then, like we said, target and destroy a setup or drill. Now, the neat thing is, I would have to ask somebody who's a touch more knowledgeable than I. Yeah, let's say if I had a couple setups in mind but no drills out, could I attempt to target a drill and not have to worry about killing my own stuff? I honestly don't know. Either way, I still think it's a super duper crazy neat thing, because I'm going to have an ally out. I'm going to have like Kami out. I can trigger Kami's effect from this one to pull out another Dragon Ball, play it, mill him for one. Life's really good here, folks. You have here one of the most solid Namekian energy attacks I've seen in like 2 or 3 sets. All the others have been neat, but they've been super gimmicky to me. Now, some people will be upset and say, oh, what are you going to do with the hit effect? You can't make it land. Well, that's true of like 90% of all attacks in this game. So don't pretend that it's like any worse than any other such thing. I'm going to say that a ton of great effects in this game are hit effects. So I'll put it out there. Can't think of it all of a sudden. All the black style energy and physical attacks, those two that turn off your opponent's energy and physical attacks for the combat. Yeah, those are hit effects too. But they land often enough, don't they? So I'm going to give this one a huge thumbs up. If I were the kind of guy who made a schedule of so much out of so much, jeez, I would say if the stage cost, which it shouldn't be lower, I'm just saying if it was, or the endurance is a little higher, it would get like a 9 out of 10 for me. But I'll give this particular card an 8 out of 10. Still fantastic and better than pretty much everything that's happened in the last few sets. So, not a knock on you guys. I'm just saying I'm a real hard guy to please when it comes to Namekian. It was my heart and soul for a good 3 years. So, alright. Thanks very much for tuning in to World Card Game Federation. And you folks have yourself a couple of great games today.